we really wanted to make sure that these important films are in the festival, and although you might not think there's a connection between them, there are. Very open.
So we have about, did you shorten your film? 50, oh wow, I was like in there working, like, oh my gosh, it's so much. So both films focus on systems that shape people's lives, and I want to know if there's anything that surprised you while you, or that you discovered while you were making the film, or the film was being made.
First and foremost, I want to thank and acknowledge God, just because I think God gives everyone a talent. He's given myself and the team the talent to tell stories, so I want to thank and acknowledge him. I also want to acknowledge my beautiful fine wife over there in the back. And I want to acknowledge the Roxbury Film Festival. A lot of film festivals say they're independent film festivals and give a platform to independent filmmakers, and that's just not true. Roxbury Film Festival does that. So I just want to shout out to you. I appreciate you. But, in terms of, so the question, what different things that we learned that we didn't expect? I think that, education, and we ended it. Education is really, the teacher it's like a relay race, like we mentioned in the last part of the film. It is a true relay race. So I'm in education, so it's personal to me. The co-director's in education, it's personal to him as well, is that we're one leg. A teacher and educator is one leg. And doing the documentary, I realized you can be an amazing, outstanding teacher, but if the outside environment are not contributing, like the community, the parent, and the student, then it's very difficult for the teacher to try to succeed in that one leg, but for the whole student to be successful. Yeah, I thought it was a perfect match with your documentary, because you can be great in the classroom, but they have issues such as healthcare, issues such as poverty. It is very hard to focus in that classroom. So that's the biggest thing I got out of it, is that it's really, we are all on the same team. Whether it's healthcare providers, teachers, politicians, what have you, everyone needs to be on the same page to get the success of a student, particularly in the inner city.
Something that surprised me. I guess the one thing that I keep coming back to that I think the film really shows is the importance of community. I don't think that people necessarily think about healthcare as being something connected to community, but I really believe that we all do better being in community and creating a place where people feel comfortable going, that has the, similar to what your film talked about in education, has the highest quality standards, no matter who you are, is critical to providing incredible care, education, and also connects to being part of the community that you want to be a part of and that you feel really proud of.
One of the things, you're a teacher, you're a doctor, and I'm just curious as to how you guys feel about the challenge, maybe some things that the films talk about that we don't see, who are not necessarily connected to the medical field or to the education field. But what are some of the challenges that both of these films help us understand, or do they help us understand? I think there's a lot of misconception out there. When you started this clinic, that kids weren't getting proper care, or they needed, and the care is holistic, right? But what are some of the things that maybe the general public doesn't understand about the work that you do and the importance of the work that you do?
I guess I think that people often think about health care as like that, you go there for health care, but I think about health, and healthcare is just one part of it. I always say we are a health equity practice that uses pediatrics to get people in the door. So everyone, parents care about their kids' health, and so often they bring their kids to the doctor, and then once they're there, we can actually address all these other things that are so important to be healthy, which is so much more than healthcare. I also think the bar is really low, unfortunately, I would say, in education and in healthcare, and what we expect is not always what we deserve or the standard that we should strive for. And I also think that in both cases, I would say the systems are broken and people keep trying to fix them within the system. I left the system to fix it because I tried in the system. I worked at a community health center for 15 years and tried. And I said, I can't do it any longer. So I got to go outside the system and just step back and say, like, what is my utopia of medicine? And not mine, it's what is my community's utopia of medicine, because I've been working in the South End community. And what did I hear over and over again that people wanted? They wanted a doctor who had time to talk to them. They wanted someone who actually cared about them, who was willing to listen to them, who actually could do more than just give them vaccines, but could help with food insecurity and help housing and actually address their mental health, not with giving someone a piece of paper or saying, get on a wait list or we'll help you in 6 months. That's not care, and that's not taking care of people. And so, I think really saying, if something isn't working, let's fix it, and let's think of really creative and innovative ways. And sure, lots of people are gonna say that's hard or you can't do it, but if you don't try and listen to the people who want it done differently, then it's not going to change.
Just to piggyback on what you said, just about the connection, in terms of what I want people to understand is that resources, when I say resources, I mean very blunt money. And you talk about money that's poured into, different things, you got to think what the priority is. Just look at this block right here. Let's have an honest conversation. This block right here, how many liquor stores and fast food restaurants are you gonna see? Right? That's the reality of, and there was a stat about, you're 92 years old, life expectancy, and then some other places 69, or what have you. 2 miles apart. And then look at the amount of fast food and liquor stores that we have in this particular area. Look at the school system, it's resources. We went to all over the country, went to Louisiana, we went to private schools here, went to Xaverian High School, we went to Brockton High School, schools in Boston. You walk into some private high schools, fresh paint, bright lights. You walk in as a teacher feeling good. Now, that doesn't mean it's not great work done in the inner city. I'm in the inner city, and I'm very proud of the work that we're doing. But when you have a building, when you have resources that reflect the great people in the building, it elevates the game that much further. It's something where, we're talking about Brockton High School. I'm not sure if it's on the point where there was a leak and you saw a bunch of buckets that were filling in. Those buckets have been there. I'm 37 since I've been in high school in 2006. So we're talking 20 years. So, where are we pouring in these different resources? I just want to piggyback on one more thing. They talk about property taxes. Right now, after this documentary, we had a company that hit us up about doing a promotion for highlighting a possible new high school in the city of Brockton. And the property taxes thing hit it right on the money, is that inner cities tend to vote no on increasing property taxes. That could directly impact not having a new high school. You look at these suburban communities, brand new high schools, and they're voting to increase property taxes because it goes back into the high school. It's hard for us to do in the inner city because times are tough. Gas prices are high. But those investments are really important because those investments pour back into our community. Again, what do we want to pour into? What do we want to pour our money into? And we got to look at those priorities.
I think that's an excellent point, because people often think that that someone's just trying to get them raise your money and take your money and raising your taxes. So I'm wondering how your communities will change or have changed based on the work that you're doing. You make a lot of documentaries like this, and trying to figure out what the impact and how it has changed public perception, and how has the community changed and the perception changed. And you must see a change in your families since you've made this big decision to leave and start your own thing. So can you just talk a little bit about that about sort of that impact that your films have had to sort of change a system like this education system and your practice?
I think the films, I've been blessed to do, can't remember how many I think about 9 or 10 documentaries since 2010. I think the biggest blessing is being able to be humbled. And watching this documentary about education, the biggest thing I learned is how I need to be better as a teacher. And how it starts with me. And I think, we gotta be able to look ourselves in the mirror, and before we, throw stones, we gotta understand sometimes we live in a glass house. And being able to say, what can we do? I chose to work in the inner city. That's a choice. Could work in the suburbs, had opportunities to, but I think God is calling me to work in the inner city and being able to impact that change. So I think, we gotta be able to humble ourselves and realize what we could do first, set that example, and hopefully impact others.
One of the biggest things, or most impactful things that happened when we opened, so we opened on Albany Street in November of 2020, and many of the staff members that work with us are, many are bilingual, bicultural, many are from the community, and a mom came in soon after we opened and she said, "You have the nicest staff members here. They're not like the staff members at the health center. They were always in such a bad mood and not that nice." And I said, "It's actually funny you say that because they're the exact same people working here." And so I think it also makes you realize that you put people in an environment where they're respected, where they matter, and they're told they matter, where they're invested in. And the same goes for the patients. We had Health Resources in Action do a kind of a evaluation of what we're doing in our work. And one of the most striking things to me was that what patients said about the work we're doing and what our staff said about the work we're doing were identical. That they both said that, it was a whole different experience, that we were investing in people differently, investing in patients differently. And so those things really, really matter. And like the details matter, and the space matters. Our space is beautiful, and because it should be beautiful. You should get your healthcare in a beautiful space that reflects who you are and where you want to be. And we want to be in places where there isn't a lot of healthcare and high quality healthcare. And in fact, we are looking at a second location, and we're hoping to be right in this neighborhood, next to the fast food and liquor stores, and maybe bring in some more fresh fruits and vegetables, and do some education around the importance of that, and work with the local communities who are doing that work, and like Madison Park, and who I know has a farm, and all that. Like that's the work that we really want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it is so important. It has to start at that age, right? It has to start with young kids and families feeling whole and feeling loved and feeling respected, to have them come to the education system feeling really good about themselves, right? So if there was one policy in each one of your worlds that you could change, and it's just one because I know that there's many, what would that be that would give the most impact in the work that you're doing?
Well, I'm very biased. I'm a vocational teacher. I teach TV production. So I would increase vocational opportunities. And really, I think when we think of education, how it was, when I was in high school, was, you go to high school, then you go to college, and then after college, you get that big $100,000 job, right? That's the plan, right? So that's not the reality now, okay? And frankly, it probably was never the reality. But I think vocational education and teaching someone, how to be in my case, a video editor, and how you can make serious money doing that. You know, you can make money being, now we still need our doctors, we still need our lawyers, etc. But there's so many different avenues, whether it's, you know, doing hair, being a carpenter, what have you. So, to answer your question, well, Paul, I would expand vocational education. You know, City of Boston, there's a lot of vocational programs. They're called Chapter 74 programs. You know, there's a whole bunch of them, you know, but there's only one high school that has a full vocational program from start to end, and that's Madison Park. From my school where I'm at the Harlan, there's some vocational programs there. I think expanding those opportunities to those kids sooner, quicker, and to be able to access that income, I think that would be one policy I would change, is expand vocational Chapter 74 education.
Well, in healthcare, there's a lot of policies that have to be changed, but if I had to pick one, it would be investment in primary care. So you saw some of the statistics that even though we spend $14,000 per kid or per person in the United States, our outcomes are so much poor, and that's because we only spend about 5% of all healthcare spending on primary care. And that's really the foundation of medicine. And so I think if we doubled or tripled that, which there is talk about doing, more people would be able to do the work that we're doing and invest equally in mental health care and in the social determinants of health, because they'd have more resources to do that. We rely heavily on philanthropy to do our work, but our organization, each child it costs for an annual kind of everything that we provide is about $3,000 a year. And so it's not that expensive. And so if we were able to invest in primary care, we could get closer to that number, and everyone would be able to provide this.
Those are great, I feel that way. I feel it's so difficult to find primary care doctors nowadays. So people go without, even adults. I think it's really problematic. I want to throw it out if anyone has any questions from the audience for either one of our filmmakers.
Don't all jump at once.
Oh, there's
calm
one.
down.
I have two questions. Both of you are very pouring into your communities. I'm wondering what's like one thing you guys do for yourself to like keep going in the work. And then my second question is, if you could tell us about like a win you've had, like something that sticks out when you're like, this is why I'm doing the work.
I'll go to the second question first. In terms of this is why I'm doing the work, I'll tell you a student that I had. His name's Amari Gaston. I had him sophomore year in high school over at Lynn Tech. I taught at Lynn for 10 years before I came to Boston. Going through a tough time in his life, home issues that are going on, really devastating things going on. And me and him had a connection. Fast forward, he graduated high school, graduated Bridgewater State. Now he's working at the State House doing communications. And actually we got so close, it was actually my wedding last September. And that just sparks about the relationship that teachers and students could have and how it can impact. And I feel humbled by this. He says that relationship that we had, because he grew up without a father. He grew up without, kind of having structure. And, he said, being involved in his life was impactful for him. So that meant the world to me. And he's actually the only student I ever really cried for. I still get emotional when I think about, our relationship. But students like that, that's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you going. He's doing great things right now. He's working in politics. Honestly, I can see him being state rep or, running for whatever. So that's a story that sticks with me. And there's a lot of stories like that, but I always go back to his story. And he's someone I don't see. He was a student, now I see his little brother or son to me. So those are the stories that keep me going. And your first question was?
What's one thing you're doing, because both your works are intense. So what's one thing you do to kind of like pour into yourself or do for yourself, kind of keep going?
Well, I do documentaries, but also I teach. I always say I live a double life. I'm a teacher by day, filmmaker by night. But one thing I love about teaching is that in about 2.5 days, I'm gonna have 10 weeks off before September. So I chose to teach because production is great, but frankly, I don't want to do production every single day. You know, it gets tiring. You have to pour into it, and it takes a toll on family life. So teaching gives me the ability to be with the kids, teach them things I learned in industry, pour into them, but also the summertime gives me that time to reset, and I can show my beautiful wife this summer.
I have so many wins to say that like from our patients. We actually, at our staff meetings, we do every week, we either say kudos or like kind of like about other staff members, or we talk about kind of recent patient success stories. And there's so, you know, people going to college, people who have been homeless and finally got their own apartment, people who got a job, so many. But I would say one of like my favorite things that happens a lot is that my patients, who some of them I was the parents, I was their pediatrician, now I'm the kids' pediatrician, but the parents come in and they say, you know, I'm so proud of you. You did this thing and you're doing such a good job and we're really happy. And it happens like more than once from all these families of all ages, like, you know, moms who are 25 years old and you know, living often in shelters or other places, and they're so proud of not only me but the work that they're a part of, and that there's something about that that's like really remarkable. For me, I don't get 10 weeks off in the summer, but I really try and exercise. That is like my and also like my kids are. I have 2 daughters, and they actually were the ones who told me to leave the health center and start my own place. That they said we're done, go, and so this is, you know, this to me is very personal for them, and to show them that if something's broken, like go and fix it. So.
Just since you two are in 2 fields that are vital in the Black and brown communities, and just always under constant threat from the state or federal government for being cut, what do you think that we should do as individually in these communities to have a stronger foundation for both fields, education and health, that affects us throughout the lifetimes?
Well, I guess I'll start with, you know, investing in yourself, right? And I think that can be really hard to do, right? To either for your own health or your own education, and but I see the ripple effect a lot in communities, right? Like one person starts doing something different, or starts a walking club, or something like that, and remember about all the kids who are looking up to you as you do that. So that would be. And you know, I think it can be really discouraging what's happening in the federal government, and but I think if we all kind of keep putting one foot in front of the other and doing the work and doing the right thing, like together, we can still make progress.
Vote for people who support public education and hold them accountable. And vote people who are going to support healthcare. You know, no matter what political lines you're part of, I think that's very important. You know, the fact of the matter is this, is that the federal government, they're cutting aid, and it's trickling down to the state level and directly impacting cities like Boston. It's a hiring freeze for teachers, but that's a direct impact on the federal government. So there's no shortcuts behind that. So I think it's very important that we vote for politicians who support public education. But also, we got to hold ourselves accountable. You know, money is not going to fix everything. It's people, but it helps, right? It helps. So I think that's a big thing we got to do is continue to support for our councils, our state reps, our governor, and president of who aligns with what's important to us.
I think that's a really important point, and I think everyone here knows it. I mean, I know we live in a blue state, but it's still, people don't necessarily vote. And when you don't vote, it's not about voting on the federal level, it's about voting on the state level and the local level, because that really makes a difference in how things are gonna take shape. And so, so thank you, Nebe, for saying that. I just want to say thank you to the two of you for bringing hope into communities, for bringing communities together. There's one more question.
I'll be quick.
Okay, no, go ahead.
Okay, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to both of you all for sharing just some amazing projects. I worked in both sides of the field. I worked in education. I've also been a caseworker for the state of Illinois, so I know what it is to determine eligibility for clients. And then work as my parents were teachers, and I was like an assistant teacher. So I understand being in a realm, and I feel like what both of your documentaries show was a way that you can show up. I appreciate your question, what am I supposed to do? And like what you said, voting, I just went to a Black Caucus Policy Summit, and I think the biggest thing, what I think both your projects show is being active. We don't really sometimes we just tell ourselves things aren't there, but it's a lot of community if we actually look within the community and figure out how we can get active and we find support within that way. But I just wanted to just share how amazing it is, from watching the first one about education and how clear it is as a picture of this is a job that it takes everybody. You know what I mean? We see so many people blaming students, you blame the parents, you blame the government, but it's no, this is a system. So when you ask I'm wow, even when I do talk to kids, even in passing, you never know, you are part of them. You know what I mean? So I feel like you highlighted that in the film, we are part of the process, no matter how you come into life. And even with it comes into even healthcare, just being nice to people when you are around them that are sick, or even just sharing hey, I've been going through that too. But those things, I feel the simple kindness and then the simple being authentic, shown in both your projects, I feel were ways that we can show up in our own communities. And those are very hard projects to tackle, with education, because I feel it's always a finger blame with healthcare. But I just want to thank y'all for just creating community and creating these type of films that can be shown, because by people watching this, I think it will inspire different communities to activate and do different things. If nothing else, just spread the awareness of you at home. Now when you didn't drop that kid off at school, it's up to you when they get back home to check in and see what's going on, because you're part of the process. If you drop the baton, your kid is ruined, and it's because the first step didn't get crossed. So I just appreciate it. I could go for days, but thank you so much for the amazing work. It was great.
Thank you. Can I just mention one thing real quick? I love being a teacher, and I think sometimes we forget to say that as educators. I absolutely love being a teacher. I'll be teaching the rest of my life in some capacity, and we need teachers who love teaching. We need more of that, because it's still a great profession. It's a great profession. You still have, it's great for time off to be with family, but you're impacting people, on a daily basis. So the document is the danger of failing, because I want to kind of get people's attention. But don't let this fool you that I don't love what I do every single damn day. I love teaching, and I want to trade it for the world.
I'm glad you said that, because I worked in public education as a social worker. And I noticed that there are some teachers that love teaching this subject, but they don't love the relationship of teaching with the students. And the students know that and get that, and therefore don't do well as being practiced. So I'm really glad that you said that, and it comes across. It comes across from you that you love your work, and it's the relationship. And I see you as a natural social worker, because I'm a social worker. And you see your patients not just as what's going on with their health life, but the whole system and the whole connections and the relationships they have with the world. And in order to help them with their health, we better deal with that other stuff. So I appreciate both of you dedicated to how much you care. And your clients and your patients and your students will feel that and benefit.
Yeah, I echo that. Thank you, Paula. I think it's very true. I think you can see we need more of you all in the system. And as you were saying, when you paint the school, people are happy to come in. And you're saying that you have some of the people that were at the Hill Center that are now with you that have a whole different outlook because you're creating that opportunity. So thank you both. Any more questions? Oh, go ahead.
The messaging, both messages are very involved. So, you know, he's what the young brother talking about, his boss told me to go out and see if he could find other black male teachers. Couldn't find one. Couldn't find it. And it needs to be the message needs to be, it needs to repeat itself over and over and over again. So that the awareness level stays high. And also, for your clinic, I like to talk about try to balance healthcare, not just with physical health, but with the mental health piece as well. Because we struggle in that area too. And there's a lot of people out there working now that are not able to get adequate mental health care. And we're at a crisis level. It's sad to see the stat about Spain, one of the richest countries in the world. But we have one of the highest rates of casualties and crisis, because the system is just, I like that you can't just throw money at it. It takes more than just money. It takes a commitment from people. And we seem to fall short in that area quite a lot, but it was the messaging was very well done. So that's just what I wanted to throw that in real quick. Grabs them open.
Thank you. Thank you for the comment. So thank both of you again. Any more questions?
Just real quick, so I'm shot on Hakeem Hill. He was part of the production for years, and I have to be kind of loud
Oh, your production team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, and Nubi's been with us for a while.
I just wanted to also, Dr. Powell is here, who was one of the producers on the film from our end. And Mother Age was amazing to work with too, so we feel really grateful to be able to tell our story.
All right, well, thank you both so much for your work, your continued work. You're inspired, or I'm inspired anyway, and we will go forth, I will, to make sure that I'm creating that community and I'm going to support it.